All right, guys, welcome to another episode of Mind Show Publishers, where we live that passive income life one idea at a time. Today's video, I'm going to talk with you about my journey on the road to financial freedom. And you know how I'm doing it? I'm using Dave Ramsey's baby steps. So let's jump into this video so we can see how I'm doing it. Okay, so what you see on the screen right now are all 7 of the baby steps that is in Dave Ramsey's program. I basically think this is the blueprint for financial freedom. If you are able to follow these 7 baby steps, you are definitely going down the right track to be a EDM. And if you know Dave Ramsey and Chris Hogan, a EDM is an everyday millionaire. So let's get into these baby steps so I can show you how I did each one of them. So baby step 1, it says you need to create an emergency fund. And the goal is to get $1,000 by any means necessary that is legal. You know, we don't want you doing any illegal activities to try to get this $1,000. And basically, you know, everyone runs into emergencies. So what is considered an emergency? You may have a flat tire. You may have to go to the doctor and your health insurance, you haven't met your deductible, different things like that. What is not considered an emergency, which is why some people continue to get into debt, is that they're buying, you know, purses and shoes and going out to eat. You know, those are things that you want. Those are not things that you need. An emergency is to take care of things that basically are out of your control, but you need to take care of them. So that's why I say, you know, like a flat tire, you didn't know you were going to get a flat tire, but these are things that happens to everyone. You know, it doesn't matter who you are, you're going to run into those situations. And if you had an emergency fund, it will soften that blow for that particular incident that happened. Think about with all the pandemic and things that were going on. A lot of people, you know, were out of work. $1,000 isn't a lot, but if it needs to carry you over, you know, for a couple of days or a week or something before other money starts kicking in, it's definitely a lifesaver, because I'm sure there are a lot of people that would have been happy if they had that $1,000 in their emergency. All right, so let's get into step 2. Step 2 says pay off all debt except the house using the snowball method. And I will tell you that there are 2 different methods. You have the snowball method and you have the avalanche method. Both methods work. Now, before I get into those, let me explain on why you don't include your house in this debt. And the main reason is because for most people, the house is the largest debt that they have, because you're talking 200, 300, 400,000. It could be up in the millions if you're staying on the West Coast in California. It's different, you know, for every person, but it's still usually the largest debt that a person has. So you don't include that with some of these other debts that you may have, such as school loans, medical bills that's happened, credit card debt, different things like that. Those should be a lot smaller than your mortgage. If it's not, you have a bigger problem that we're going to be discussing on this particular video. But snowball or avalanche, what's the difference? The main difference in the 2 is which item you decide to pay for first when you're looking at your debt. So with your debt, you need to get everything together that you have as a debt. So if you got credit card debt, if you have a school loan, if you have medical, if you have child care, you know, debt that has accumulated, you know, whatever it may be, if it's something that you have to pay on month to month, outside of your house, it needs to be in this list. If you're going to pay by the snowball method, the snowball method basically says list your debts from the smallest to the largest, and you pay on all of those items. The smallest debt, though, you put a little bit more. So let's say with the items that I'm showing on here, You got 4 items on here. You have $1,000 item, a $300 item, an $800 item, and a $700 item. In the snowball method, you would pay the $300 item first. And just to keep it simple, let's just say each one of these you are paying $100 a month on. For the smallest debt, you want to try and pay an extra amount. So for $300, if all you have to pay is $50 a month for the minimum, you want to try to pay $100 a month. Whatever else extra amount you can pay above the minimum is what you want to pay on that smallest debt. And then all of your other debts, you just pay the minimum. And then once you pay off that $300 debt, you then take whatever amount you were paying on a monthly basis, and then you move that one to your next debt. In the snowball method, it's going to be the $700. So let's say your minimum on the $700 was $100 a month. You already paid off the $300 and you were paying $50 to $100 on that. You take those two and you add them up, and now you're paying $200 towards the $700 a month. And it's basically just like a snowball. If you take a snowball and you make a ball and you roll it down the hill, as it goes down the hill and rolls over that other snow, it gets bigger and bigger because it's compacting and it's picking all of that snow up. That's all the snowball method is. It's basically, as you move to each debt, whatever you were paying on one debt, you take that amount and you move it to the next debt and you add it up. So by the time you get to the end, you may be paying $500, a month on that last debt, but it's going to knock it out pretty fast. Depending on what the amount is. The main thing is, after you pay off the debt, what most people do is say, oh gosh, I got an extra $50 a month now. You do. But if you have other debt, it needs to move to that one. It's not an extra $50 a month to go out and, party with. No, it's money that you need to move to the next debt. Now, the avalanche method. How do you do that? The difference in the avalanche method is you're still paying all of your items, but you target the item with the highest interest first. So in this case, it's the $1,000 and it's at 12% interest. The avalanche method wants you to tackle high interest rates first. So you basically shuffle all of your items and you put them in order by the highest interest rate to the lowest interest rate. And the method behind that is basically saying you want to knock out those high interest rates so it doesn't keep collecting more money. So like if you had a car and you got 3%, and then you have a truck that you're paying 15% on, which option are you going to choose if they're giving you, these vehicles? You're going to take the one with the lower interest rate because the payments are going to be lower and you're going to be able to pay it off a little bit quicker, and you're not getting hit as hard from an interest standpoint. So that's what the avalanche method is. The pros and cons of those is, for the snowball method, the pro is this. The reason I got those those 3 items highlighted in green is because if you pay your highest interest rate first on that avalanche method, let's say you pay off $1,000, and then the next thing you're going to move to is the $800. Well, if you take that same $1,000 in the snowball method, you've knocked out your 2 lowest items. And now you're down to the $800 item, which you're both going to be paying, on that. So you're going to be on your 3rd item in the snowball method paying it. You're just going to be on your 2nd item in the avalanche method. Now, the money is the same. It just shows small wins with the snowball method, and it's no different than when you're dieting. If you're on a diet and you've been on it for a month and all you've lost is a pound, you're going to get discouraged, with it. Same thing with the snowball method. If you're paying and you're not seeing anything being paid off, you're going to get frustrated. And that's what happens to some people when they're doing the avalanche method. But in the snowball method, you got some quick wins. So it's up to you. Either way, the things are going to get paid off. It's just in a different order. So for me, I would prefer the snowball method, and that's just because I can see things being clicked off. And I've gone through, I have my $1,000 saved up. I don't have any debt except for my house. That's the last thing that I have. And as we go through these different steps, you'll see where that comes out at. But I've finished all of these particular items. All right, so let's move to the next step. So step 3. Step 3 says you need to save 3 to 6 months of expenses. And the goal is to have a fully funded emergency fund. So remember, step 1, you put $1,000 in your emergency fund. And I would say if you are a person that had not ever saved money and tried to meet a goal like that, it should have been pretty great to you. It should have been a great feeling to know that, okay, wow, I've saved $1,000. And that is very good to some people, because like I said before, there are people who have zero money in their bank account. They don't even have a savings account. And it's not because they don't have a 9-to-5 job. It's because they're living paycheck to paycheck. And the way that they're spending their money is not the most efficient or effective. They're buying, $300-400 shoes and purses and clothes and going to concerts. They're having fun, but they don't have anything tangible to show for it later. And that's what this is about. This is about building your foundation so that if you are young, looking at this and you're a college student, when you get to the age of 25, if you are following these particular methods, you are definitely going to be a EDM. And if you don't follow Dave Ramsey or Chris Hogan, an EDM is an everyday millionaire, meaning that your net worth is $1 million. And the easiest way to get to that point is setting that solid foundation so you're not creating debt. So when we look at expenses, a lot of people ask, well, how do I calculate my expenses? How do I figure out everything that I have that I need to save up for? Well, the main way to do that is basically to pull all of your statements that you have. So if you have a credit card, a debit card, if you use PayPal, any type of accounts that you use to pay bills or to pay things with, you need to pull those statements, because once you pull those statements, then you will be able to document down and understand everything that you're spending your money on. This is the same thing you will need to do when you're trying to budget. That's another piece, that if you don't have a budget in place, it doesn't matter how much money you're saving. If you don't have a good budget, you're going to get back to the same point of spending and wasting money on things that you don't need. You will get to a point in your life, if you follow these steps, that you can buy things and spend money on anything that you want to. But until you get that foundation solid, you're not going to be in that position. I'm not saying you can't do it, but you're going to be doing it and creating a hole for all of this debt that's going to accumulate because you don't know how to manage things properly. It's funny, I talk with a lot of people and they talk about that they want to be a millionaire, they want to have a lot of money. And my main thing is this: if you don't know how to manage $100 or $1,000, you are definitely not going to be able to manage tens of thousands of dollars or $1 million. That's why a lot of people who win the lottery and get these big windfalls, they're broke in the next 1 to 2 years, because they don't know how to manage and budget that much money. They didn't know how to manage it when they had small money. So they definitely are not going to know how to manage it if they have a large amounts of money. So this is the way that you need to do this to calculate your expenses. And basically, once you determine how much money you need a month to survive, and this is on the necessities, not on things that you want. Let's say that you need $1,000 a month, to take care of your expenses. And that may be your car payment and your rent and maybe some credit cards. And I'm just throwing out a number. I know it's different for everybody. It could be $5,000 a month that you need to, survive on. Whatever it is, you take that number and you multiply it by 3 or 4, 5 or 6, whatever it is, the amount that you want to have on hand for your expenses, that's what you multiply it by. And what this is going to do is, this is going to help you if major emergencies come about, like this pandemic. If you had 6 months worth of expenses, that would have helped you, maintain for, 4 to 6 months until stimulus money kicked in or until unemployment benefits kicked in. This is a very big piece, and you should see how important this is right now if you were impacted pretty badly, by the pandemic. So make sure you do this, pull your statements, and start working on this particular one. And this one is going to be hard for some people. I mean, just think about how hard it was for you to get the $1,000 together. This is that times 3 or times 6, whichever number that you're choosing to have for your expenses. All right. Step 4. Now, this particular one you can do in conjunction with your regular job that you have. So it says invest 15% of your household income for retirement. And they say household because it may be you and your spouse. If it's just you and you want to do all of this for you specifically, then you do that. And that's what I do. I'm married, but I invest 15% into my 401k. And I have a couple of different items out there. I have a regular 401k with my company. I have a solo 401k, which is a 401k you can get if you're self-employed, because I have side businesses. So I have a 401k that way. I have a Roth IRA that I put money in. So I'm going above and beyond the 15%, but at minimum, you want to try to do this. And when you're doing this 15%, this is on top of whatever your company may be matching you. Some companies match 100%. Up to 5% of what you're actually putting in. It's not including their money. It's your straight 15%. That's what you want to get to, that point of being able to put that amount of money in there. This one comes at step 4 because you don't want to do this if you're in debt. You need to complete all of the steps before you get to step 4, so complete steps 1, 2, and 3 before you even start doing this. Now, if you do have a company match, you want to at least be doing the minimum so that the company matches you, because you don't want to lose that free money. So let's say your company matches you 5%. I would at least put in the 5% so that you get that company match while you are working on steps 1, 2, and 3. Don't try to put in 15% if you haven't finished the other steps. And the types of things that you invest that money in, like I was saying, you have your 401k, you have traditional IRAs, you have Roth, IRAs, you have Roth 401ks, you have traditional 401ks. There's so many different things at your job that you can actually invest in. If you are self-employed, you can still invest in these types of things. Now, as far as the percentages on what you put your money in, whether it's international, whether it's US, mutual funds, all of those type things, you need to be working with an advisor for that. I am not an advisor. I actually have my own advisor that helps me look at these different things. And if you follow Dave Ramsey or Chris Hogan, they're going to tell you not to invest in individual stocks. Now, this is something that I do myself. I do invest in individual stocks, but it's a risk that I've decided to take, on my own. Have I lost money with stocks? Absolutely. I've also lost money in mutual funds and things. My 401k dropped drastically, during the pandemic. Now it has actually built back up and I have more money in it than I had before the pandemic started. But everything happens and you have shifts, but it is more riskier to do individual stocks than it is with mutual funds. And you can learn a whole lot about that by reading Dave Ramsey's book or Chris Hogan's book. You can find information on that. Okay, so step 5. Some of you may not even have to do this. You may not have kids or even thinking about kids or anything like that. So you don't have to worry about this step. This is a step that I am doing. I have about 25 more thousand that I want to put into my son's college fund. He's only 7 years old, but I started his college fund, I think probably 4 or 5 years ago. And I've started putting more money in it now. I've brought up that amount. And I have a set amount that I want to actually get in his college fund. And I'm doing a 529 account. And I'm thinking about this year, though, moving from the 529. I'm going to keep, what I already have in there. But I'm going to start investing in a separate type of account for him. Because of the fact that if it comes to a point and my son says, hey, I don't want to go to college, the money in the 529, you can get that money out of the 529, but you're going to be penalized if you're not using it towards some type of schooling. It doesn't have to be a 4-year college. It could be a trade, school. It could be for community college. All of that is actually in there. But you are still a little bit more focused where it does have to go for that particular child. And what I'm thinking about doing now is moving additional money that I was going to put in the 529, putting it into a separate type of account that I can accumulate money, for him, and more likely probably a custodial account. And I do already have a custodial for him. And the only thing with the custodial is it has to be used for him, but it doesn't have to be for college. It could be for anything. It could be for his first car. It could be for school, it could be for an apartment. It could be for anything but specifically him. So that's what I think I'm going to start funding that more. And also with a custodial account, I'm able to invest in mutual funds, stocks, different things like that. With the 529, there's set things in there, that is being invested, for you. You don't really have control, over that like you do or can have with other type accounts that are not specific for college. So this is a big one, also. And college prices are increasing every year. Every once in a while, you may have a university where they say tuition is not going to increase, but for the most part, most of them are increasing quite a bit. So depending on how young your child is, I say start as early as you can. Figure out by working with your advisor the best way to go. Just know that if you're in, like I said, a 529, that money has to go towards some type of schooling or school books, or they did make it a little bit better, where I think I don't know if it was last year or year before last, where you were able to start using that for after school programs and different things. So they did improve it a little bit, but you want to look into it and make sure for your state or where you're at and what you want to use that you fall in line for it. So this is where I actually am on the 7 steps, the 7 baby steps. I have about 25,000 more that I want to put into my son's college fund, and then that's done. And I don't have to worry about that anymore. So let's go to step 6, because I'm actually working on this one too. Pay off your home early. This one I have already made some changes and things with. And like I say, as you go through these baby steps, you want to do them in order. But if you follow Dave Ramsey or Chris Hogan or the different people that listen to those podcasts, you'll see a lot of people are in steps 4, 5, and 6. You know, they're doing all three, you know, of those simultaneously. I am doing 5 and 6, you know, together. And with 6, one of the things that I did a couple of years ago is I refinanced my house and made sure I got a lower interest rate. And I went to a 15-year mortgage, which takes off a lot of the time, because I had a 30-year, you know, mortgage. I went to a 15-year, plus I'm paying additional money. My goal is to have this house, my house paid off in 5 years. It's a big task, but I know I can do it. But that is my goal. I'm already paying more money, you know, on it each month, higher than what my payment is. I've gone up and I send that in. So I have an additional amount that's going towards my principal, which is very good. This one is going to take a long time for you to do. And that's why they leave it for the last thing, because if you have hundreds of thousands of dollars, it's going to be hard, you know, for you to do it, but you got to be laser focused on it. And the beauty of this is, think about this. If you pay your house off and you don't have that mortgage to pay anymore, what do you have left? You know, if you've taken care of your debt, you've paid off all your debt, and your house was the last thing, all you have left is regular bills. You know, if you got cable or direct TV, satellite, whatever it is, gas payments, because you don't have a car payment, you don't have anything but regular bills. That is the beauty of this program, that once you get to that point, you can kind of write your own ticket. Because when you look at anybody in the workplace, why are they going to work? It's because they have bills that they have to pay. The majority of the people are not going to work because they just love it. You know, I'm not saying they hate their job. That's not what I mean. But if I gave you the opportunity to stop working at your job and all of the bills that you had was paid, would you still work at that same place that you were working at? Or would you go out and create your own business? Or would you, you know, what would you do? Because I know that I wouldn't stay in my regular, you know, my regular job. And I have things in works this year, which will change, you know, all of those different things. So this is a very big deal, and it is not a quick task to do. I mean, most people who are doing these baby steps, it may take them 10 years or more, but it depends, you know, if you're focused on it. I've seen people posting things in the Facebook for Chris Hogan's Everyday Millionaires, where they've paid $80,000 off in 9 months. And it's because they went out and got extra jobs. They did this. They stopped wasting money on different things. And yes, you may miss out on things where you got friends going out on vacations and parties and different things. But would you rather go and do all that partying now, or complete all these steps and be able to party anytime you want, whenever you want, because you don't have any debt that's bogging you down? That's what this is about. So step 6. Pay off your home early. And the first step of that, once you get to this, or if you're doing 4, 5, and 6, refinance your home. Get a lower interest rate. Get to a 15-year mortgage, because it's going to make your monthly mortgage go up because of the fact that you brought it from 30 years to 15 years. But all that money you were paying to pay off that debt, you should still be able to have that money unless you had gotten a whole lot of extra jobs and things. And I am not advocating you to work extra jobs to pay off a house in 10 years, you know, because that will drive you crazy. You have a lot of leeway now since you don't have all that other debt. And you need to make sure, since you don't have all that debt, that you have stabilized and you got your foundation together, you got your budget together, and you're able to do the things that you want to do, which takes us into step 7. If you have paid off everything by following all those steps, all the money that's coming into you now, the majority of it is money that is going into your savings accounts or your investment portfolios, because you don't really have debt now. You just have everyday bills. All your debt is now gone once you get to step 7, which is basically financial freedom. You have no debt. You are financially free. And that is the goal. You know, like they say, you know, what is the American dream? I would say the American dream is to be financially free, to be able to do what you want and when you want. So if you want to go on a vacation, you can do it. If you want to buy that car, you can do it, and you can do it in cash. Those are the things that this is setting you up to do. And I am definitely looking forward to that. I have 5 years until I am completely free of the different debt that I have, which the only debt I have is my primary house. Everything else is completed. I've completed all those things. $25,000 left to put in my son's college fund, and my house should be paid off in 5 years. So where are you at in the baby steps? Like I said, it's not going to be easy to do, but there are so many people that are trying to do the same thing and can motivate you. If you haven't joined the Facebook group for Everyday Millionaires, please do that. They have some great motivations that's being posted every day. And I'm a part of that group also, and I love it. And please understand, I am not a part of Dave Ramsey's group or anything. I'm not getting paid for any of this. I just know the program works because it's working for me. So hopefully this video helped you out. If there's anything that I can do to assist you in any way, if you have any questions on anything, please subscribe to my channel. Check out some of my other videos. I have videos on here that helps you improve your credit, that shows you how to make some money on the side if you need help building up that $1,000 emergency fund or knocking out some of those debts. I have videos that can help you with it. Good luck on your path to financial freedom, and check me out on the next video. Thank you for joining Moncho Publishers.